Hello, and welcome to this special talk show edition of the Newsfeed. I'm Kelly O'Regan.
And I'm Cameron Wells. Coming up on our show, we're going to be talking about one of Virginia Tech's favorite yearly traditions, homecoming. To keep homecoming 2020 safe and COVID-free, here's what Ashley Berry and the homecoming team set up for the Spirited Week. And you're on the homecoming team for preparing all that?
So I'm the director of PR and marketing for the homecoming board.
Cool. So, first off, how long have you been in that position?
So I started I got the director position this past January. Our board switches from December to January. So then the year before that, I was the assistant director of PR and marketing starting January of 2019. And then this year I've been the director.
Gotcha. And so what are some of the responsibilities that you have to do or that fall on you?
Right. So a lot of it comes down to marketing our events and the things that we have going on. So on a surface level, this relates to all of managing and running all of our social media and then our website and just keeping up with all of that. But then underneath, I'm involved in all of the planning of the events, because obviously if I have to market the events, I have to understand all the workings of the events, and then working with alumni relations to bring their stuff in, and so a lot of meetings, especially this year, just because none of us can be together, so a lot of Zoom meetings and orchestrating things out, but ultimately marketing our events and then doing different marketing booths, flyers, things like that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think I could handle having to do all that, especially if it's all just online and through Zoom. Kudos to you.
Yeah, definitely a lot of meetings this year, but we're almost through it. So
with all that, how much of that did you expect? And on the flip side of that question, have there been any unexpected difficulties with all this?
Expect-wise, I think I got included in doing more than I expected, not in a bad way, but just because typically our events are we do the same similar events each year, so you already understand the workings of everything, so marketing it isn't necessarily difficult in figuring out what they were. But then so we have our programming team, and they're the ones that orchestrate all the events and organize them and things like that, and the programming of the different events. And I was involved in a lot more with that, just because in figuring out all of the virtual events, it was so she her name is Eva. Eva is the director of programming, and she would come to me and be like, okay, I have this idea, how can that work on social media, or how can that work virtually, what? And so then it was I had to figure out how to work the digital side of the events, which didn't exist before. It used to just be that I was marketing them versus running them on social media. So just a lot more communication there. And then because there was a lot more communication, that meant a lot more meetings and figuring that stuff out. So difficult, not necessarily, just we had to figure out how to run it this year because it was so different.
Gotcha. Are the people on the homecoming court, are they doing any specific events for their platforms, or is anything specific events to them? Not.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So the way the court works is so each of them have their platform. So something that we our homecoming is definitely our homecoming court is definitely platform based. So we try to emphasize that this isn't necessarily about a certain individual. It's about this platform that they're representing, that they care about for some reason. And they campaign all week with their platform, and they have booths around campus. So each candidate has different locations each day, and the locations switch where you'll find them each day. And then once we announce our homecoming royalty, they get money. And then with that money, they put on either some sort of event to then raise money to give to a charity, or some of them, it's a program they want to institute that relates to their platform. So that's what they earn by winning, the opportunity to do something related to their platform, instead of just giving giving them a check and then like donating somewhere. Like they have to like do something, or I mean honestly they want to like do something. So that's kind of what they definitely spend their semester thinking about, is like with putting together their campaign, they're also thinking about like, okay, if I were to win, what am I going to do? How am I going to make that happen? Like what impact can I have?
All right. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that then. See
Yeah.
who wins and what they do with that.
Me as well. And this year we have, it's different this year. We just switched it. So instead of having a king and a queen, we have homecoming royalty. So there will be 3 people that win, and it'll just be, so everyone gets 3 votes. Like all the students that vote get 3 votes, and then it'll just be the platform that gets the most votes, the second most votes, and the third most votes, regardless of everything else. So we just wanted to emphasize, like, instead of having this like quota of like this, one of the girls has to win and one of the boys has to win, that it's really just about the platforms that get the most votes, and like anyone can be included in that top winnings.
I like that. I really like that. That's a really good change from previous years.
Yeah, we were really, really excited about that. We did that at the beginning of this year. We worked, like, it was like the board of last year worked really hard with different organizations and things like that to release the change. So we are very excited to see how that works out this year.
I'm gonna have to make a prediction and say that that's gonna work out great. Helps more stuff all at once. I like that. So where can we see who is on the court and what their platforms are? Where can we find that information?
Right. So like definitely just like on campus, obviously their booths there most of the time, other than if they have like class or something, they're personally at their booths as well. So that's like a way you can at least like talk to them. But in regardless of just seeing their platforms, they're on our website, which is vt.edu/homecoming. And then we also have it all on our social media. So we have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then we release like a court highlights on Sunday. So it has every single candidate and then what their platform is, and then they like a little blurb about like, you know, what their platform is and why they're doing it. And then they also all have their own Instagram platforms for their campaigns that we have linked in the post we made. So then on their social media accounts, they have like way more information that goes more in depth into their campaign. But yeah, so social media, our website, and then booths on campus.
Are there any changes you'll want to see for next year's homecoming? Like now that you've experienced like what this year is like a little bit, and so if heaven forbid that it has to be online again next year, is there anything you'll try and do in advance or change up? Or if it is in person next year, homecoming that is, are there any factors from doing it online that you'll keep? Do you think?
So if it's allowed to be in person next year, something that could definitely like be instituted would be, I mean, like obviously we would definitely keep up the events that we did in the past in person, which was like on Monday we always had like campfire kickoff, and then also like BSA puts on a laugh riot or like a comedy show, and then VTU puts on a concert, which they are having both of them this year, but you know they're virtual, which is amazing, but you know not the same. And but having all of those events and then also utilizing the virtual aspect of it, because it's something that honestly just like kind of came out of having it virtual was the fact that it included so many more people that couldn't necessarily be included before. For example, like Homecoming's Got Talent. That was always like a student event. You know, it's on campus, it's in Squire. So students could attend, students could watch, but by us like live streaming it, anyone can watch. So alumni can watch, community members can watch, and they're like, we're allowing them to vote, watch, interact. And I think that's really great because you know, homecoming isn't just about the students. It's about past students. It's about the community members that live in this area that are a part of the Virginia Tech and Blacksburg community. And so being able to like include them in even more events, I think is something that's really great and something that we've always wanted to do. So it honestly just was like, wow, like this is the perfect way to do that. So maybe having like Homecoming's Got Talent and having it in person, but also live streaming it. And so that way, like everyone can be included, and definitely like utilizing that kind of thing throughout the week where we have like in-person events, but we also have the virtual aspect so that like we can include so much more of the community. And then if it's virtual, I think it'll definitely be interesting because like for us, it was a clean slate. Like, it was like, what are we going to do? I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. But with like, if it would be virtual again next year, then it's like, well, this is what they did last year. Do we do some of the same things? Do we come up with all new events? Like, I think some of the events could be redone, like this, we could redo the same event, with Hokie Hindsight, like different traditions, like different people. There's so many Hokies, like you can't run out of interviews with people. And then, I mean, obviously, again, like this was our first year doing this, so there's tweaks to be made to everything. Like nothing is perfect. So I think it would be really interesting if it was virtual to see like how they kept what we did and also improved upon it.
All right. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for meeting with me today and taking time out of your schedule. This has been a wonderful conversation and wonderful learning experience too.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Many homecoming events move online. Find out more from the Newsfeed's Grant Atkinson.
Virginia Tech homecoming, like many traditions, is affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to meet safety guidelines, the usual events of homecoming have shifted to a virtual platform. This includes Homecoming's Got Talent, a popular tradition at Virginia Tech during homecoming week. During the event, homecoming court candidates and other students compete for votes in a talent show style competition. This year, Homecoming Board President Anisha Shrestha says the online platform has opened up new opportunities.
Instead of it being in person, we moved it online and doing a voting style where everyone can vote instead of like specific judges. So it's kind of like an American Idol style. I think we looked at like other examples of what others have done and then try to implement that into tech as well.
In addition to the new voting style, going online will allow new audiences to experience the competition. Andrew McCaffrey, a cancer survivor who is running for homecoming court on his platform to knock out cancer, said this is an exciting new aspect.
I'm excited for it. I think it's really cool to get more of the community involved, especially when some of the events can't happen in person this year. So I think it's a great way that Homecoming Board is making strides to get more of the community involved in Homecoming Week this year. So I'm excited to see everyone's acts. I think it's going to be a good time.
Despite all the changes, candidates are excited to still be able to set up booths on campus and share their messages with proper safety measures in place.
Yeah, so definitely been a lot of like virtual meetings with Homecoming Board and the other candidates. Maybe not the most traditional homecoming experience, but we've been a lot on social media, a lot of just kind of word of mouth. And now that we can be out here boothing and, be wearing masks and staying distant, it still, feels like homecoming again.
Reporting for the Newsfeed, I'm Grant Atkinson.
With Cook Counseling in high demand, find out how Katie Leeper plans to help as a homecoming candidate.
What made you want to run for homecoming?
I am really passionate about mental health and abuse awareness because I personally struggled with my mental health and also was in an abusive relationship while in college, and so that just really sparked my drive to want to bring awareness for people speaking up and asking for help.
How has this year with COVID-19 affected the homecoming turnout this year?
It's been a lot different. Most events are entirely virtual. Thank goodness we're allowed to still booth on campus. We just have to be very careful, obviously, have gloves on and masks and everything. But overall, we're still campaigning. It's just a lot more virtual, so that's the biggest difference. And we also aren't getting any sort of announcements at the homecoming game this year. I think that's the biggest difference.
And where will the homecoming announcement be held?
Homecoming announcements will be held on Sunday on the drill field, and then that will be shown on YouTube and the Virginia Tech website throughout the next week. So that's going to be the biggest change due to COVID.
What is the homecoming board doing well this year?
The homecoming board has done a great job supporting us. Honestly, the president baked us all a pie this week just to get us through the week in case we are sad or whatever, which was the best thing ever because we're all really stressed with COVID right now, and just them giving us the support and making sure that we have, the required gloves and all the different social distance guidelines so we don't get in trouble has been really, really helpful.
Now let's head out to our man on the street, Liam, to hear what other students are thinking.
Monday, October 12th, marked the kickoff of homecoming week. meaning all the candidates and their sponsoring organizations would spend the next 5 days hanging out all around campus, spreading information on their platforms and jostling for votes. To find out more and to get into the nitty-gritty of opening day, we had to find out where all the action was happening.
So we came to the drill field. Like many things here at Virginia Tech, the drill field is the hub of homecoming, as it's prime territory for candidates hosting informational booths and tents to reach as many people as they possibly can. So we asked those people who they plan on voting for this year.
Moj, I'm in her organization and I love her, so I gotta get her the vote.
I'm thinking, well, we get 3 choices, but I know for sure Mo, because she's for education with women. I plan on voting for Moj. Sorry. And I actually just talked to the girls over there, and they were saying how they're going to try to educate people on women's rights in countries that are, obviously women don't have a lot of rights. And one of the countries they said was India, and I'm actually Indian, so it's nice to see that people are advocating.
I plan on voting for the team with Building Healthier Brains with Parker Berry. I like that platform that they're helping undergrad students to have healthier lifestyles and make sure they're mentally stable.
I plan on voting for Laura Fortune, Andrew McCaffrey, and Grace Stevens.
To hear more about the numerous platforms, you can find these booths spread all across campus until Friday afternoon. To learn more about the candidates and to cast your vote if you're a student, visit gobblerconnect.vt.edu. Reporting for the newsfeed, this is Liam Sment.
Find out how homecoming candidate Seth Hurdon plans to help victims of unhealthy relationships. So what made you want to run for homecoming?
I've had friends like in the past few years that had ran, specifically Muhana Hussein, who ran 2 years ago, and he was a really good friend of mine, and that was what first inspired me to run. And then I had several friends run last year, and like they just really were like so into their platforms and like really enjoyed the process. And I like my healthy relationships platform is something that I really care about and has been like a big thing in my all 4 years of undergrad. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it, and like I want to help APO, my org, like become bigger on campus as well, like help them out and like use them to like help me carry out my platform, if that makes sense.
What do you plan to do with your platform if elected or chosen to be on homecoming?
Okay, so we are making aftercare kits for people in the New River Valley who have experienced domestic or sexual violence. And those would go to the Women's Resource Center of the New River Valley, as well as like local hospitals. Because a lot of times when people come in and have experienced domestic or sexual violence, their clothes have to be taken like as evidence or things like that. And so they're like kind of just like left there with like nothing. So these aftercare kits a lot of times have like very comfortable clothing, like sweatpants, like oversized shirts, like journals, hygiene products, and just things that like would help ease that like traumatic experience. And I was an intern at the Women's Center last year, and like obviously we have a lot of programming at Virginia Tech and stuff, and so I was told that was something that our community like needed, and that was something that I was like, okay, this is a realistic thing that I could carry out.
What is the homecoming board doing well to support homecoming candidates this year?
I'd say something they're doing really well is like communication. They've let us know everything like very far in advance. And if there's something that changes, they let us know right then and there, like as soon as possible. And they've been very upfront with like everything that's going on. And they've like really tried to do their best. Like they were trying to get us like on the field for like football, and like that couldn't happen, and a lot of stuff. So they've definitely been like very supportive and very like helping of everything and letting us know like what's going on, like because it's been such a unique year for homecoming because so much is different.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you guys didn't really know the plan even like 3 weeks ago, because I know a lot of students didn't really know about that, but
yeah,
how are you guys feeling about it not being on the football field or at a game? Does it change like the whole homecoming aspect for you, or?
No, I wouldn't think so. Like, I was excited to be on the field just because, like, that's so cool, like, during a football game. And, like, my mom was really excited to walk on the field with me. But, like, homecoming is still, like, the same because we're all carrying out our platforms and, like, having our sponsoring orgs back us. So, really, it's, like, still, like, the gist is the same. It's just, like, the supporting events that go into this week look a little different because there's no longer like the campfire cook-off or anything like that, and like the talent show is live streamed and we don't get to go on the field. Like those things have changed a lot, but the feeling like of running and stuff I think is still a lot like the same.
Mhm. So because you guys can't do the cookout and stuff, in what ways are you guys engaging with other students on campus?
So a lot of it is honestly virtual and through social media and speaking at other chapters via Zoom, which can be interesting, especially when there's like several chapters like at one time and you need to like speak at multiple. But I think the biggest thing that we're all trying to do is on social media, which can like sometimes be hard because if somebody doesn't have like graphic design experience, which I know I don't, like having to ask people for help and like designing things. But that I think is like honestly the main way to reach out to students right now is social media.
Mhm. Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking with me.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
That'll wrap up this talk show edition of the Newsfeed. If you have a story idea for the Newsfeed, let us know. Send us an email at thenewsfeednrv@gmail.com. And as always, you can also connect with the Newsfeed on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Regan.
And I'm Cameron Wills.